At Hashem, Parachat Vayera. Parashat Vayera, the end of the parasha, very famous passage in the Torah, Akedat Yitzchak, right? Avraham Avinu is taking his unique son, the one he loves the most, the one he's waiting 100 years to have a baby, and then Hashem says, Va'aleu le'olah, bring him as a holocaust, right? So Avraham, without asking any questions, takes his son, and he goes to do the Akedah. After Hashem is telling him, that's not what I meant. I just meant Aleu leolah, just bring him as a holocaust, but I didn't mean to sacrifice him as a holocaust, right? Aleu, la'alot means to bring him up to the mountain, that's it.
זה לא הולוקוסט, זה סקריפייס אתה מתכוון.
Sacrifice, אבל זה נקרא עולה, זה הולוקוסט.
איך קוראים לזה?
הולוקוסט. כן.
הולוקוסט משהו.
כן, שואה זה הולוקוסט. עולה זה קורבן שנשרף כליל. אז זה נקרא הולוקוסט, משם בא השם הולוקוסט. שנשרפו, ששרפו אותם על קידוש השם.
אבל isn't it that once you bring something to Allah, אתה לא יכול להגיד אותו?
Yeah, okay, well, we're not going to get into all these details. Right now, the Akedah, this story of the Akedah, it says Am Yisrael is profiting from this maaseh, from this action, ad sof kol hadorot. That's why in the parasha, when Avraham takes the knife, it's not called sakin, it's called ma'achelet. אז רש"י מביא שתי פשטים, רש"י brings two פשטים. מאכלת שאוכלת את הבשר, she cuts the meat. מאכלת שבני ישראל אוכלים שכרה עד סוף כל הדורות. עם ישראל is profiting from this knife that was raised, right? And almost touched the neck of Yitzchak, we get the שכר of this מאכלת עד סוף כל הדורות. The thing is, there is a big lesson to learn from here. Avraham Avinu, at the age of 100, he's still asking Hashem, Mati ten li, what are you going to give me, Hashem? You promised me the land of Israel, promised that, but I really need a boy. He says, you're going to have a boy. Okay? And after 100 years old, he has this boy, and Hashem tells him, go do Olah. What does he do? He doesn't think twice. He does it. If Hashem says to do it, he does it. He gives this midah to Yitzchak. Yitzchak, how old is he in the Akedah? 37 years old. So they're going together, and he's asking his father, Ineh ha'esh va'etzim vayaseh la'olah. There is wood, there is fire, but where is the sheep? You tell me we're going to do a sacrifice. Where is the sheep? He tells them, Elohim yireh lo aseh le'olah beni. So God is going to show us something, and if we don't find the sacrifice, you're going to be the sacrifice. What does it say? Vaychu shneim yachdav. Rashi Yosef Beleh Echad Kish Echad. They're going together. You're 37 years old. You're not married. You never had the chance. Avraham is married. He had already Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, Yitzchak. You know, he has his household. He did his life. But Yitzchak didn't start his life. So he couldn't. Ma pitom bini? Ma pitom ani? Find yourself Ishmael. Take Ishmael. Do it Ishmael. Vayilchu shneim yachdav. Lo shoel shelot. Where does he get it from his father? His father doesn't ask questions. Lo shoel shelot al Hashem. But then, in the parasha, after the Akedah, there's an interesting Rashi. After the Akedah, when Hashem tells him, Al tishlach et chalnar, don't send your hand and don't do nothing. So says Avraham, he says, you know what? Now I have a question for you, Hashem. Okay? You have a question for you. What's the question? He told me, כי ביצחק יקרא לך זרע. Then you tell me, עלה עולה עולה? איך יכול להיות? How can you tell me יצחק יקרא זרע? And then עלה עולה עולה. So Hashem says, לא, ומוצא שפתיי לא אשנה. I'm never going to change what I said. I'm repeating what I told you. ועלהו לעולה, I just told him to bring him up. עלהו, תורידהו, כן? כל המפרשים, all the commentaries, למה אתה שואל שאלות עכשיו? Why asking questions now? If you want to ask the question, ask him before. When he tells him, קח את בנך, את יחידך, ועלהו לעולה, תשאל אותו before, ask him question. Hey, you told me ביצחק יקרא לזרע, מה קרה פה? And 1 second, you know what's the funny part over here? Not the funny. The most interesting part? He sent already Ishmael from the house. So if he slaughters Yitzchak, there's nobody. So what does he go back? He goes back like 37 years ago we had no kids. Before he had no Ishmael and no Yitzchak. Now he sent away Ishmael. Kol asher tomah lecha Sarah shema v'kola. He sent away Ishmael. Now he's about to slaughter Yitzchak. And if he slaughters Yitzchak, he's not going to have any kids anymore. Doesn't ask questions. But after, he asks questions. The answer is, after, you're allowed to ask questions. Before, not. That's the limud. That's what you have to learn. When somebody tells you to do something, you ask a rabbi something, do. Naaseh v'nishma. You're allowed to hear after. It's not a steer. It's not a contradiction. You're allowed to ask questions after. But first, do. Do. You don't understand why. Because somebody told you, a rabbi or somebody told you to do something. Do it. And afterwards, you can ask questions. Just want to understand. This is understanding. You want to understand. V'nishma. What's v'nishma? Navin. We just want to understand. So Avraham wants to understand. So Hashem explained. I never changed my words. Never changed my thing.
Because he learned from his previous mistake, when he said, במה ידעתי ירושנה.
נכון?
שם הוא למד שעכשיו שואלים רק אחרת.
רק אחרת. So now, there's a Gemara, interesting Gemara over here. There's a Gemara over here in Sukkah. Mem Daled Amud Bet. Mem Daled Amud Bet, the Gemara says the following thing. That Va'amar Ayabu, there's a rabbi called Ayabu. Ava kaimna kameh de Rabbi Lazar bar Tzadok. I was in front of Rabbi Lazar bar Tzadok. Ata lekameh hu gavra. A man came. Amar le karyata itli. You know, I have a whole city that belongs to me. At the time of the Talmud, you have a whole city belongs to you. You have to be a big ashir. In the city, karmaya itle. I have vineyards. Okay? Zetaya itle. I have olive trees. Vatu bnei karyata. The people of the city, I don't live there, but the people living in the city, they work for me. What do? They cut the raisins, they cut the olives, right? And I pay them with the fruits. I give them to take the fruits, okay? And arich or lo arich, could I do it or not? Mutar or lo mutar? Amar le lo arich. Lo mutar. It's not allowed. What happens? Kashavik va'azal. The man ran away. This man ran away. Amar kadu avi daire ba'ara 40 shanim. Rabbi Lazar bar Tzadok says, I lived in this place 40 years. I live in this place. Velo chamiti bar inish me'alech be'ochan detaknan kedin. I never saw somebody goes in the Torah ways like this person. I live here 40 years. People come and ask me questions. I give halachot, I teach people, but I never saw a man like this. מה קרה? He asked you, mutar or lo mutar? He told them, mutar. What's the big deal? Okay? But the story is not finished. As he's saying that, he came back. The man came back. ואתה ואמר לי, מה יעביד? Okay, you tell me it's לא מותר, but what I'm supposed to do? How can I pay them? אמר לי, הפקר זה תהיה לחסוכיה. You should be מפקיר, disown the olives and give it to poor people. ותן פריטיה לקשקושי כרמים וקשקושי כרמים. Pay from your money to those who work in your fields. You're not allowed to enjoy פירות שביעית. Rashi says, היה פירות שביעית. So you're not allowed to enjoy. By taking the פירות שביעית and giving it to them as a sachar, you're making business, you're making סחורה בפירות שביעית. So you have to pay from your pocket. And the man accepted. השאלה, מה הוא התפעל ממנו? What was the big thing that Rabbi Lazar ben Tzadok saw? The thing is, the Mefarshim say, you know, when you come to a rabbi to ask a question, basar bechalav, Isur ve'eter, Shabbat, any question, the rabbi tells you no. What's the first thing you do? Yeah, but, you know, Rabbi, if, let's say, the Shulchan Aruch did not mean that, and I found a posek that said, always you trying to turn the rabbi around. What happened over here? He asked him, I have a city, people work for me, I have kramim, it's not shvi'it, I pay them with the fruits, ma? Lo. Azal, he went, olach. And he came back. Why did he come back? Because, okay, lo azman yoseh, okay? Why didn't he ask when you're there? Why are you going and coming back? Because first of being law, he goes and tells the Poalim, from right now, I don't pay you with perot anymore.
Wow.
How do I pay you? I don't know. אני אלך לשאול עוד פעם. But you don't stay there and start arguing with the rabbi. Listen, it's a city, it's a lot of people working for me. It's הפסד מרובה, it's הפסד מועט, it's על ידי גוי. You're looking for an answer? When you go to a rabbi, you should be willing to accept his answer. If you're not willing to accept, don't ask. אז אומר רבי אלעזר בן צדוק, 40 שנה, I live in this place 40 years, I never saw such a man. People always start to argue with me. I tell something and people are trying to find me כל מיני היתרים. מה זה לא? This person is לשם שמיים. And this is מידה של אברהם אבינו. לא שואל שאלות. לא שואל שאלות, אתה לא מבין. You don't understand. You can argue and you say, listen, בהפסד לא, no is no. That's it. This is אברהם אבינו. אברהם אבינו לא שואל שאלות השם. אחר כך, אחר מעשה, like this man, he comes after, הוא בא, he wants to understand. He wants to understand. Okay, you want to understand? I want to show you a beautiful story that I read over here, and then Shabbat. He brings over here that Rav Aaron Kotler, right? Rav Aaron Kotler, the Miyased, right? He's the founder of the Liquid Yeshiva, right? In the beginning, he was a Rav in America. He was a Rav in a yeshiva called Klotsk, right? Klotsk, in Lita, right? And he went one time for a round to collect money. Erev Shabbat, he comes into a city, but on the faces of the people in town, he doesn't see so many Jews. לא רואה יהודים. לא רואה פרצוף יהודי. All of a sudden, he sees somebody looks Jewish. He goes over to him and says, you know, Shabbat is in half an hour. Can I come for you to Shabbat? This week's Parachat, Vayera, we learn about the Achnasat Orchim, Avraham Avinu, נכון? So he asked him, please, are you Jewish? Can I come? He told him, I would have done it בשמחה רבה. הייתי עושה בשמחה רבה. בעיה אחת, one problem. מה? כל האוכל בבית שלו לא כשר. If my food wouldn't be kosher, I would invite you בשמחה רבה, but אני לא רוצה להכשיל אותך. I don't want to be מכשיל, a rabbi. No, so he told him, do you know anybody Jewish in this city? יש עוד יהודי? אמר לו, יש אחד, כשר למהדרין, there's one כשר למהדרין, בעיה אחת, one problem. Never he brings anybody in this house. אף פעם. והוא אומר לאנשים, אני לא מכניס אורחים. I don't bring in people to my house. זה היחידי that eats kosher over here. מהדרין. not סתם kosher, מהדרין. It was half an hour before Shabbat. Rav Kotler didn't have a choice. אז הוא הולך. I have nothing what to lose. מה, נעשה שבת ברחוב? כי ברחוב נעלים? He goes to him, knocks on the door. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Kod Arab. Listen, אני חדש, I come here I just pass here on Shabbat, and I need a place to stay for Shabbat. אני לא מקבל אורחים, I don't, פח, סוגר לו את הדלת. In his face, he closed the door. Wow. He says, ריבונו של עולם, I didn't expect that, really. דופק לו עוד פעם. He knocks again. He says, כבודו, I don't have a place for Shabbat. אני לא מקבל אורחים, בום, סוגר לו את הדלת. כבר 10 דקות, 10 minutes past, 20 minutes שבת, הדלקת נרות כבר. It's almost הדלקת נרות. רב קוטלר said, you know what? אני חייב להיות חוצפן. Where am I going to do Shabbat? He bangs on the door, and the guy opens and says, don't close the door. He starts screaming at him. You think I'm a little kid? אני לא הילד שלך, אני לא ילד קטן, אני רב, אני הרב של קלוצק. You know who you're talking to? מתחיל לדעת. הרב של קלוצק, מחילה, come inside, put inside, מכניס אותו, sets them, they daven home, ארוחה כמהדרים, אבל הרב אמר, היה חכם, I'm not going to start questioning him, בגלל שאני הרב של קלוצק, כאילו אתה מקבל אותי, אברהם אבינו היה מקבל, אברהם אבינו would get guest אפילו ערביים, so מה זה? אבל the story, the rabbi says, the story was, that before he brought him in the house, he said, אתה הרב של קלוצק? כן. אתה הרב גדול? כן. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. Only if you answer the 5 questions, you can come to my house. אם אתה לא עונה ל5 שאלות, you cannot come to Shabbat. We're talking about 20 minutes before Shabbat. Rav Kotler says, each question was harder from the other one. And he says, ובהלכה, הוא שואל אותו בהלכה, בתלמוד, בהלכה, לא סתם שאלות שטויות, לא, הלכה. And he says the fifth one, היה לי סייעתא דשמיא. Before leaving my place in Klotsk, I found a תוספתא לא ידועה, היה איזה תוספתא, ואמרתי סתם, I'm going to read it, to have on the way. הוא שאל אותי על התוספתא הזאת ועניתי לו. He says, if I wouldn't answer this תוספתא, he wouldn't bring me into his house. הוא אמר, היה סייעתא דשמיא. אבל הוא החליט, he decided, I'm not going to ask him questions. Let's have a good Shabbat. After Shabbat, I'm going to ask him. No. He says, the whole Shabbat, food למהדרין, every course, דבר תורה, חידושים, פלפולים, גמרות, on the table. He says, he never ate at Shabbat. He never ate at Shabbat, מלא קדושה. אבל בראש שלו אומר, ריבונו של עולם, this guy knows so much הלכה, he doesn't know what's הכנסת אורחים. And he's telling you בשיטה, no, I'm not getting אורחים. Shabbat finishes, he starts to put his pekalach, he starts to put his thing. כבודו, תודה רבה. I must ask you a question. תגיד לי, you read Parachat Vayera? Did you read Parachat Vayera? Did you read אברהם אבינו מכניס אורחים, ערבים? מה זה? מה השיטה הזאת? Where did you get איפה כתוב בשולחן ערוך? Where does it say anywhere that you can block your door for אורח, and especially somebody coming out of town, and he's telling you, Shabbat, I don't have a place to stay, and you tell me, תלך, ואתה סוגר בחוצפה. So he told them, רמב"ם מפורש. It's a רמב"ם. אמר לו, רמב"ם? לא קראתי. I never read this רמב"ם. איפה כתוב את זה ברמב"ם? אמר לו, אני אקרא לך. Takes out the רמב"ם, פרק 60 מהלכות דעות הלכה א'. 6 פרק of הלכות דעות הלכה א'. The רמב"ם says, דרך בריאתו של אדם, להיות נמשך בדעותיו ומעשיו אחר רעיו וחבריו. A person always follows his friends and his surroundings. Whatever they do, whatever they think, this is how the person is going to end up thinking. Even though he doesn't think him being so, he's going to end up thinking so. And he says, ונוהג כמנהג אנשי מדינתו, and you always behave like אנשי המדינה. לפיכך, צריך אדם להתחבר לצדיקים, a person should always be a friend with צדיקים, ולשב אצל חכמים תמיד, always be surrounded with wise and righteous people, כדי שילמוד ממעשיהם, he should learn from them, ויתרחק מן הרשעים ההולכים בחושך, כדי שלא ילמוד מעשיהם. Then the Rambam continues, and he advises, למי שאינו יכול ללכת למדינה שמנהגיה טובים, if you cannot find such a country where there's righteous people and tzaddikim they can sit with and learn Torah and be influenced with good things, says the Rambam, ישב לבדו יחידי שנאמר ישב בדת ועידו. ישב בבית לבד, אל תלך לשום מקום. Stay home. And the Rambam continues over there, ואם צריך למדבר, if you need to go to the desert, go live in the desert. Get away from society. Society is a bad influence. If you don't have any good influence in your society, get away from it. אומר לו, this rabbi or this Tamid Chacham, he says, I came here, arai. I don't live here. I came here because of a medical problem. He came because he had a medical problem. He has to stay for a few months in this place. But he says, אני רואה את האנשים פה, לא אוכלים כשר. People over here don't eat kosher. People over here don't keep Shabbat. People over here מתגלחים בתר, they raise themselves. He says, ואני מפחד, I'm so scared, אני לא מכניס אף אחד בבית הזה. No one comes into my house. My house became like the Rambam, ישב בדת. רמב"ם מפורש. כן? What would do another person? מה, אתה אומר לי, אתה חי בעיר, you're living in a city, אתה תסגור את עצמך בתור, מה זה, תיבת נוח? You're going to close it לנוח? מה זה? You have to take to your neighbor, שלום, בוקר טוב, how are you? You have to go to, maybe this בית הכנסת, I don't know. מה אתה עושה ימים נוראים? What are you doing?
בדיוק.
הוא היה כל כך תמים, says the Rav Kotler says, I ended up appreciating this man. He took a Rambam and he read it kipshuto, and he didn't look for a terim to talk to the neighbors and to do this and to do that. הוא למד את הרמב"ם כמו שכתוב ברמב"ם. בלי להגיד, without looking, פלפולים, אולי בדור שלנו, maybe the Rambam meant 1,000 years ago in his time. לא, פשוטו. There's also a story about Rav Chaim Volozhin. One time his תלמידים found them in בית המדרש rolling on the floor. היה מתגלגל לרצפה. And it wasn't, people were not supposed to be there, but they caught him in action. כבוד הרב, מה אתה עושה? What are you doing? He says, אני מקיים, I want to accomplish משנה בפרקי אבות, והווה מתאבק באפר רגליהם. After when חכמים leave the בית מדרש, there is אבק על הרצפה. מה כתוב? והווה מתאבק באפר רגליהם. I want to get the אבק on my coat.
וואו.
כפשוטו. כפשוטו. אחד יגיד לך, מה פתאום, אתה משוגע? You're gonna get, now you're gonna have to send your clothes to the cleaners. לא, לא התכוון, the Tana didn't mean that. The big חכמים is כפשוטו. You want to understand after. You want to understand, you ask questions after. אחרי מעשה, after מעשה. But to start with, כפשוטו. מה שכתוב, השם יסתן על אברהם, תיקח את בנך, את יחידך אשר אהבת. He's taking it. יצחק, יראה לו עשה לעולה בני. אוקיי, בני. You know? רבי אלעזר בן צדוק. בן אדם הזה צדיק. Came to ask, he's running away. He doesn't look for היתרים. He says, no, he's no. After he's going to ask, מה אני אעשה? אחר כך. לא עכשיו. Understand? כפשוטו. And that's the big mara. So we never, right? So I want to tell you, I told somebody this week, an interesting story, a personal story. 2 years, I think last year, not last year, 2 years ago, somebody asked me about a scooter. Rav Amari was speaking about the scooter.
Okay.
So somebody asked me about a scooter. So what was the question? Shavuot. He has to go to a place, if he has to walk to the place to do the tikkun of Leil Shavuot, it will take him an hour walking. So he wants to go with the scooter. With the scooter is 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. So back then I didn't live in Florida, so I told them, I don't think so. They over in the hall and all that. So the guy tried to argue with me on the phone. Yeah, but if I don't do Leil Shavuot, well, I'm going to stay home without doing by Yachid, and over here I'm going to have Minyan and do the Tikkun, it's going to be Kaddish. He's trying to convince me. I told him, what? He asked me, I told you, but why are you trying to convince me? I said, yeah, but you have to understand. You know, he tried all kinds of...
Right.
I told him, I don't think so. So the guy told me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a new scooter, Lichvod Yom Tov. Brand new from the box, and I'm going to miyached liyom tov v'shabbat. I told them, you know, there is a Mishnah Berurah like this. There's a Mishnah Berurah like this. The Mishnah Berurah says you're not allowed to, lechatchila, you're not allowed to play checks on Shabbat, shachmat. Okay? Why? Because in Shulchan Aruch is called iskoki. He said iskoki kacha קראו לו shachmat. Iskoki. They used to make it out of bones. Bones of animals. So the Mishnah Berurah says, if you're going to make of silver, if you're going to make the soldiers and things out of silver, lichvot Shabbat, so this is going to maybe take off the Isur of the Chol, because it's going to be lichvot Shabbat. So I told them, listen, the idea is not a bad idea. There is such a shita, the Mishnah Berurah brings such a shita, but I still think you don't take a scooter, but do what you want. He calls me after Shavuot. He went to Walmart. He bought a new brand, the most expensive scooter Walmart had. 200 or something. He bought something mechubad. And he said, Lichvod Yom Tov. Lichvod Shabbat Yom Tov. Yored b'madregot. He goes down, he lives in a building. Yored b'madregot. עם הסקוטר ביד, because he has to go with steps, נכון? בא לנסוע, he wants to try, the wheel breaks off. נשבר לו הגלגל. He couldn't go. Brand new, חדש, מהקופסה. כן, אני אומר לך. אז הוא אומר, מה הבנתי? הבנתי, לא היה צריך להתווכח. אתה שואל שאלה, you asking a question, כן, לא, אומרים לך לא, so why are you trying to find a תרים, if I buy a new one, and לצורך רבים, it's a קדיש, וזה. That's the problem. This is the nature of human. We always try to argue. The chidush is, תהיה תמים. כפשוטו. And I want to finish off with something I heard from Rav Yitzchak Yosef about his father, Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef wrote so many tshuvot. One of the biggest tshuvot Rav Yosef, he wrote to us, Chelek Aleph, Chelek Dalet, is about using a fridge on Shabbat. Frigidaire. Rav Yosef was one of the first one in Israel to have a fridge. The first one to have it is Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul with a neighbor on top. The Rabbanit Margalit came to her husband, she says, do you know why? Because in the olden days, in Morocco also, if you ask your grandparents, they used to buy blocks of ice. So they can put the mashkaot, the drinks. They had to go bring a block of ice, home, and it's not so cool. So his wife told him, לכבוד שבת. אמר לה, אם זה, you're so much sacrificing for Torah, my wife. If you want the fridge, I'll buy it for you. והלך ואסף פרוטות וקנה. He bought her a fridge. He was the second one in the building to have a fridge. But then started the problem. Everybody's asking him, "Are you allowed to open the door?" Because every time you open the door of the fridge, the fan goes on. So Rav Ovadia in Chelek Aleph wrote the whole tshuva le'atir. He got a lot of letters from Waldenberg, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, all the gdolim. They wrote him, איך אתה התרת, how do you matir, this, that, מתקן מנה, זה. Rav Ovadia in Chelek Dalet repeats the thing and he answers all the questions. Omer Rav Yitzchak Yosef, I remember since I was a little kid, B'chaim, never in his life. He opened the frigidaire till the end of his life. הוא אומר, כשהיינו ילדים קטנים, אבא תמיד היה אומר, בוא תפתח לי את הפריג'ידר. נכדים, בוא תפתח. בחיים שלו, so he asked him, רגע, זה מותר או אסור? אני told him, אני שמעתי אותך, רב יצחק סטלן עם father, אני שמעתי אותך בשיעור, אתה אומר לכולם מותר, אז תגיד תחמיר, או אתה... He told him like this, בעלי בתים, אל תשגע אותם.
בדיוק.
Don't drive them crazy. תחמיר, מותר או אסור? מותר. אני אומר לכולם מותר. בשיעור זה מותר. אתהלך בתום לבבי בקרב ביתי. אומר אני, because there is other rabbis thinks not the right things, אני הולך כפשוטו. כפשוטו, הם סוברים שזה אסור, I go like this. עד סוף ימיו, till the end of his days, never open the fridge on Shabbat. Not even waiting for the motor to go on, not to go on. He says, רב יצחק יוסף אומר, אני זוכר, our father, זיכרונו לברכה, תמיד a kid would open the fridge for him. מה אתה אומר? אז אם זה אסור, why a kid should open for you? No, it's already a tirim, right? But you have to open the fridge, you have to open the fridge, כן? But to tell you, רב עובדיה יוסף was מורה הלכה, but for him was מחמיר. So just the opposite. People are always looking for להתיר. He was מתיר לרבים. But for him, אתהלך בתום לבבי. So בקיצור, as בני תורה, we have to know. We should look for היתרים, for sure. You have to פוסק sometimes הנחות. But sometimes, take דברים כפשוטו. איך הדבר ככה? Why? Because כל ההתחכמויות בסוף, it doesn't come out. You listen, מצווה לשמוע, that's why it's called עקדת יצחק. Why is it called עקדת יצחק? Who is going to suffer from the עקדה?
יצחק.
No? Avraham. Yitzchak is going to die, chaz v'shalom.
Okay.
And who's going to stay with the trauma? Avraham. So you should say עקדת אברהם, לא עקדת יצחק. Okay? Why עקדת יצחק? Because Yitzchak is the one not asking questions. When he told him, יראה לא עשה לעולה בני, לא שואל שאלות. בגלל שאתה לא שואל שאלות, מגיע לך שיקרא עקדה על שמך. When you don't ask questions, this הלכה of the עקדה, this מצווה of the עקדה, this שכר of the עקדה, called עקדת יצחק. לא, to tell you how much you have to listen to the ברוך ה' לעולם. אמן.